Spectrum is an abstract board game where colors determine all the action. It is a take on roll and move games but spices up that concept with color-based gameplay that demands a lot of tactical decisions and strategic thinking. Welcome to my Kickstarter preview of Spectrum. Hey everyone, this is Athekos, and today I'm bringing you my Kickstarter preview of Spectrum. A big thanks to Bombard Games for providing me with a preview copy. In Spectrum, players capture a set number of colors in the center by moving pawns from the outer rim. Pawns enter via the 6 primary color stars matching the dice colors. Capture 12 colors, 6 primary and 6 intermediate. Roll color-sided dice to move pawns and capture opponents along the way. Think of it as a circular backgammon, aiming to bring pawns home to the 12 center colors. Dice determine movement options. As usual, I'll go over setup and gameplay before I'll give you my review. Of course, I'll again include timestamps so you can jump to the section that interests you the most. Bonus points if you watch the entire video. Let me speak about setup first. Place the game board on the table. Then each player chooses a color and takes 10 pawns of that color. Last but not least, put the dice, or color cubes, in the center of the table. That is already it. Then you need to choose the starting player. You can do so using any method you enjoy, but as usual I have a great suggestion. You all play a full round of Ludo, Pachisi, or however you call that game at your place. Yes, it might take a while, but then you are already warmed up and ready for a game of Spectrum. To win the game, you need to be the first player to capture the required number of colors by reaching the center gold stars. The number of color stars needed to win depends on the number of players. For a game with 2 players, the goal is to capture 7 color stars to win. With 3 players, the target is set at 5 color stars. In a game with 4 players, players must capture 4 color stars to emerge victorious. For games with 5 or 6 players, the objective is to capture 3 color stars in order to win. Now let's take a look at the board. It consists of 6 primary colors: red, orange, yellow, green, blue and purple. Between the primary colors there are 6 intermediate colors: red, orange, orange, yellow, yellow, green, green, blue, blue, purple and purple, red. Players are allotted 2 spaces of movement each turn, and how those 2 moves are used is up to the player. However, the available movement options are determined by the colors rolled. Normal movement allows pawns to move between spaces with shared full sides without jumping. The game uses 4 color cubes, with each side representing one of the 6 primary colors. Colors opposite each other on the board correspond to opposite sides of the dice. At the start of the game, 2 of the cubes are rolled. Additional cubes are unlocked as gameplay progresses. A 3rd cube is added after capturing the 4th color star, and the 4th cube is added after capturing the 8th color star. Regardless of the number of dice rolled, the player always chooses only 2 dice to use in their turn. Rolling multiples of the same color leads to special rolls, which are defined a little bit later. When rolling multiple cubes, players are not required to choose the best roll. Sometimes it is wiser to opt for a normal roll instead. Let me now go over the basic rules of movement. When entering and moving in the game, pawns are introduced to the board from the outer rim by selecting a star of one of the 6 primary colors. It is not allowed for pawns to start on an intermediate color. To capture a color, it must be done with the precise number of moves required. It is important to exercise caution when a pawn is only 1 space away from capturing an intermediate color star. In the event of rolling doubles, it becomes impossible to capture the color star as the pawn needs to move 2 spaces at once, but it is only 1 space away. During normal rolls, specific rules dictate the movement options for pawns based on the rolled primary colors. When rolling primary colors that are not adjacent to each other, pawns are limited to entering or moving within the colors shown on the dice. Movement into, out of or within intermediate colors is not permitted. However, when rolling primary colors that are next to each other, pawns gain the flexibility to move in either primary color and or into, out of or within the intermediate color located between them. When players roll doubles or other special rolls, it triggers the opening of the intermediate colors on either side of the rolled colors. This means that pawns are now allowed to be moved into or within the previously closed intermediate colors. Additionally, if a pawn is located in the intermediate color adjacent to the top or bottom color, it is now permitted to move into the top or bottom color. This rule expands the movement options for pawns and creates new pathways for strategic maneuvering on the board. Jumping in the game involves several important rules to consider. First, the roll of the dice must allow for legal movement to both the space being jumped and the landing space. A successful jump requires the pawn to move a total of 2 spaces. It's crucial to ensure that the roll permits such movement. When attempting a jump, a pawn can only leap over a space that is currently occupied by another pawn. Additionally, the space being jumped must share a full side with the starting space of the jumping pawn. This requirement ensures that the jump is valid and follows the established rules. After successfully jumping over a space, the pawn must land on a space that shares either a side or a point with the space that was jumped. This landing spot must be accessible and aligned with the rules of movement. It's important to note that once a space has been jumped over, it cannot be landed on again. This rule prevents players from reoccupying a space that has already been bypassed by a jump. Intriguingly, a pawn has the ability to both jump over another pawn and capture it in the same move. This unique feature adds a strategic element to the game, as players can plan their moves to both evade obstacles and remove opposing pawns from the board. By adhering to these jumping rules, players can navigate the board more efficiently and employ tactical maneuvers to their advantage. Additionally, it is possible to add optional rules for those seeking a more dynamic gameplay experience, such as self-jumping, self-capture, and surrender rules. By combining these optional rules, players can tailor their gameplay experience and introduce new strategic dimensions to their decision-making. For this preview video, I will not go over the exact details here, but I'm sure that a rulebook will be available during the Kickstarter campaign. There are 2 more things I want to mention for this review: additional components and the solo mode. The game also includes the Spectrum cards as additional components that can be used for several things. They add specific variants to Spectrum, making the game more interesting and varied, such as adding missions which demand specific spaces to be controlled. Also, the Spectrum cards let you play pure card-based games such as Solitaire, a trick-taking game, Cribbage, and many more. Some of them are based on classics you know, and some of them are original games. This game also offers a solo mode. Here, the objective is to get 12 pawns to finish in the 12 center spaces of the board. Both self-capture and self-jumping are allowed as optional rules. All other normal game rules, including legal movement and the use of additional dice, apply as well. If there ever comes a point where the player cannot move any pawns, the game is over. For an additional challenge, the player can choose to remove one or both of the self-jumping and self-capture rules. Alright, these are the most basic rules for Spectrum. But what do I think about the game? Well, let me tell you. First, I can't really say anything about the components since this is a prototype and many things will still change, such as the box size, the quality of the components, the dice will be custom made, the inclusion of more components such as a 12-sided die, and possibly a magnetic box for the cards. The game will definitely look a lot better for the production copy. This is a really interesting spin on the roll and move formula. I thought the mechanism was dead, and it kinda is, but Spectrum is doing that quite well, I must say. Using colors for the gameplay is a good idea that makes the game very colorful and more appealing than many abstract board games. The cards are a cool addition and definitely give you more game in one package. Paired with the 15 to 20 different variants of the game, you're definitely getting a lot in that one box. Then again, this can also make you ask, so what am I getting when backing Spectrum? In essence, you're getting 2 games. The roll and move board game as well as a standalone deck of cards. Both offer a lot of variety and different games or game modes. This almost feels like a game collection instead of just one specific game, if you know what I mean. The inclusion of a solo mode is the biggest surprise. Abstract games hardly ever have solo modes, so this is a really welcome addition. And it does definitely work. Honestly, I expected a family weight game here. And while that is kind of the case, it is not a replacement for the classic roll and moves you play with the family at Christmas, since the rules are quite extensive. I seriously needed a bit of time to understand all the different movement options you have, which is why I only outlined the most important rules in this preview. So, would I recommend the game? This is a tough one to answer. I wouldn't say that this is a gamer's game. If you're looking for more complex and engaging games, this might not quite be it. But it is an abstract game that does something different, and it definitely works. It might be a bit too complex to actually play with your family instead of Pachisi or something similar, but if you stick to the base game only, it's not too complex and could still count as a family weight plus game, so to speak. All in all, this is a pretty unique abstract game with large ambitions, packed in a nice package that offers a lot of variety. The rules are a bit more complex than it initially looks like, but if you're a fan of abstract games, this might just be your thing. And that is it, my review of the game Spectrum. First of all, I'd like to thank all of you for your support. That means a lot to me. I especially want to thank my patrons who are generously supporting me on Patreon. The biggest thanks go to Thakanor, who's currently my biggest supporter. Thank you so much for that. If you would like to support me as well, check out the link to my Patreon in this video's description. As usual, I'm always thankful for a like, comment, and especially a subscription. By the way, you can also join my Discord server if you'd like to hang out with us. Alright, thank you so much for watching. I will see you in the very next video. Take care everyone, stay safe, and cheers.